is Senior Pastor Jamaal Bernard from the Christian Culture Center, and I want to welcome you to today's message. Wherever you're listening from, at home, in the car, or on the move, I believe this message is going to challenge, inspire, and help you grow. Now let's get into today's message.
I just want to say, my dad be putting my business out there. He told me, Pastor Jamal's not here because his daughter is in the hospital. I said, you're doing stern questions. Now I got a bunch of text message. But on a serious note, thank you so much for your prayers, your concerns, reaching out for those who have my number, reaching out through social media. I try to respond to as much as possible. My daughter's doing better. She had what they call, I'm trying to say this correctly, a pneumothorax. And some people are saying, what is that? I was asking the same question, so I was on Google looking at it. And what happens is there's an air pocket that sits between your chest cavity and your lung. If it's not dealt with correctly, it can be ultimately fatal. But thank God it was a small pocket. And she's doing better. She's walking around. She's getting on my nerves again, so I know she's doing better. She's like that second wife. Daddy, where you are? What you doing? So yes, glory to God. Thank you so much for your prayers. Free housekeeping, just to let you know, FDNY is on site to sign up people to receive free smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors and installation if you live in the 5 boroughs. So they said, look, we got free alarms, and they want to install it. They don't want to just hand it over to you because people get it and then they won't install it, and it doesn't work. And then they get mad because it's sitting on the counter and say, well, you gave us a smoke alarm and it didn't go off, right? You didn't install it, right? So if you're looking for a free smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector, please go to the lobby or find one of the FDNY reps, and they will be happy to sign you up and get you in their schedule to install the devices. All right? Second, housekeeping. This one's a long one. No, it's not that bad. Young Life, Minister Paul, one of our ministers here at CCC, also works with another organization called Young Life. And Young Life is taking a group of individuals to Lake Champion on July 2nd, 2023 to July 7th, 2023 to Glen Spey, New York. It's a basketball camp. The cost is $300. The deposit is $50, which is required to hold the spot. These spots go fast. It's inner city kids, and it's a program that they use basketball to help build the characters of these individuals and represent Christ in the culture. Amen? Amen. So if you're interested, please go to there's no website? See how they treat me? They didn't even tell me it was going to be up there. They said I got to read this. Y'all had this the whole time? Somebody come get this. Oh, man. How's everybody feeling? So I struggle. I really struggle to work on messages. I really struggle to work on messages. One, making sure I stay in step with the visionary of the church, Dr. Bernard. And, he's been talking about Occupy. And, so I call myself, doing, a little message on Occupy and, talking about the ROI on occupying, right? ROI, return on investment. Or should I say return on God's investment? Right? See, I'm glad I didn't work on that message because the church folk, right? But then I started getting messages and asking Pastor Jamal, is Pastor Bernard going to talk about cryptocurrency and where we are financially? And I'm like, I don't know if he's going to talk about it. Would you like me to ask? So he's going to talk about some of this stuff, but he doesn't want to get caught up and go off track for he's trying to do these serious things. But I will say, where we are right now, because the dollar still has some strength, don't get rid of your dollar. All right? Because if the electronics drop and die or get shut down, get hacked and stuff like that, you're still going to need a form of monetary exchange in order to buy products. But what I do say is start getting yourself prepared And I'm saying this cautiously because, people are like, oh, the mark of the beast, the end times, stuff like that. I don't think we're at the end of the end times, right? Because we've been in the end times, the end times. I don't believe that we are, and I believe where we are, I believe that the spiritual realm, it was posturing. The spirit realm has been flexing to see the response of the church. All right, and I believe where we are right now is just some pieces being moved on a chessboard. And what they do is, if you've ever played chess, if you watch how the opponent plays, they actually do certain things to see what you're thinking, how you're moving, because they can't get inside the mind of God. So where we are spiritually, there's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of trying to figure out what is God's agenda. And that's why Jesus said, he said, not even the Son of God knows the time nor the hour. But all your job is to do is just be prepared. So what I'm feeling in this where we are, I believe that there's going to be a response from God. And the question I have been asking God, is it going to be the church that you use to respond? Because it's scary when you look at what's going on in society and you see the bickering and all of the tension that's happening within the church. The question is the church at a place of maturity level to respond to where the God wants us to respond? So going back to the whole crypto, I am not a cryptocurrency expert. But my dad always taught me, he said, if it doesn't hurt, grab some. Don't break yourself. Don't break the bank. If you need some. But where I am, I'm at a place where I'm storing up a lot of different things. I'm also at a place where I'm learning and interacting with people who have what they call vocational skills. Because I believe that if things go as bad as it can go, we're going to move towards those who don't want to get, the so-called mark or the so-called chip. We're going to need the way to survive. And I believe that the barter system is going to be another element that's going to be a part of what we use to survive. And this is not happening tomorrow, next year, but I've been praying about this, and this is what God, has, and I try not to say, well, God spoke, because I don't want to be that person. But I believe this is the direction we're going in, all right? So I believe that you need to make friends with farmers. I think you need to, get into some horticulture yourself. And not just because of where we might go, but you don't know what you're eating these days. So I think we're at a place where, and I'm excited. I'm not scared. People are like, oh, aren't you scared, Pastor Jamaal? I said, no, I'm not scared. I said, what's there to be afraid of? I'm looking, and a part of my message where we're going to talk about is I'm looking at, I've been studying Acts and, looking at, saying, okay, Lord, how was it back then? Coming out of my old book, Unapologetic Christianity, I talk about, Edward Gibbons, and he just starts talking about the rise of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. But then I go back into Peter and see what Peter was going through, telling the Christians to be strong and do what you got to do because they were being tormented. Nero blamed the fires on the Christians, so now the Christians got to go and hide, and run and meet secretly because they're being condemned and they're being tormented. And it was more so because of their faith. So the word, and I'm wrestling right now, even today, to preach this word. Because it's so simple, but yet profound, because when you look at what happened during COVID, this is the very thing that was tested amongst Christians. When you look at what we were dealing with and everything that was going on, this is the very thing that was tested with Christians. When you look at all of the decline of individuals attending church, this is what was the thing that was dealt with. So today I want to talk to you about the quality that is often undervalued and yet holds tremendous significance in our lives, especially when it comes to our Christian walk. And the word is called loyalty. The word is called loyalty. And I want you to ask yourself and really, really be, true to yourself. Ask yourself, am I really loyal to God? Or is this a transactional relationship? No, seriously, I want you to take time right now and say, am I really? Because what happens is the loyalty will always be tested. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, loyalty will always be tested. Another question, you gotta ask is am I really loyal to the truth of the scriptures? See, because loyalty is a virtue that binds us to our commitments. See, often people say, well, commitments and loyalty are the same thing. No, loyalty is what binds you to your commitments. Commitments is the thing that you said you're going to do. Loyalty is following through. And I'm telling you, when you look at all the individuals that left, I thought you were loyal to the church. I thought you were loyal to God. I thought you were loyal to the scriptures. I thought you were loyal to the writings of the gospel. I thought you were loyal to this. And given the littlest circumstance, you're going to break out? You're going to quit? Then you tell me you're never loyal. Anyway. See, if you were from the hood, if you were from the streets, that's why I love to see street cats saved. I'm going to go a little, ghetto on this, right? See, there's something significant about street cats that get saved. You get a gangster saved. I was never a gangster. I never even tried to be a gangster. I never wanted to go to jail. I wasn't about that life. But Christ said, make me soft. That's a different story. But when you get a gangster saved, there's something that the street recognizes as the biggest thing that they always want to make sure is, how loyal are you? Even to the point where they go through process to create tests to test your loyalty. Because above all else, if you're loyal, then I know I can run with you. See, so number one, our loyalty is what binds us to our commitments. Number two, our loyalty is what binds us to our relationships. And number three, our loyalty is what binds us to our principles. And why am I saying this? I'm not talking about the loyalty that's going to be needed now, but I'm talking about the loyalty that's going to be needed in the future. You're starting to see the aggression against your ability to articulate your faith. Only Christianity is under some type of attack compared to any other religion. Hindus, yes, peaceful group of individuals. Buddhists, yes, very good. Even Islam, everybody's trying to bend over backwards to allow this whole love for this religion, because they can't separate the religion and the culture, but there's some realities even with Islam. Judaism, they're afraid to mess with the Jews because the Jews will network together and they shut down the whole community. But you mess with the Jews, you end up, you definitely not going to get a second term. But let's look at the fractured Christians. Christians can't decide, which part of the aisle they're going to stand on. Christians can't come to a resolve, and you got pastors asking if it could have been an easier decision. And the reality is the word is the word is the word. The word says what it says, and it says, can we stand on it in love? Yes, we can stand on it and still show love, but there's a place where we say, no, this is what I'm loyal to. And there's two reasons why I believe that they're going after the church. One, because we're divided, so it's easier to conquer. Two, because we're standing for the truth, and only truth brings the necessary convictions for change. So if you go after truth, we don't have to worry about changing what we're doing. See, in a world where loyalty is often tested and overlooked, it is essential for us to recognize its true worth. Loyalty is not simply a word, it is a way of life, a choice to make, to stand by someone or something, even in the face of adversity or temptation. When we look at our lives of great men and women through our history, we see how loyalty played a vital role in their success. In our personal lives, loyalty manifests itself in various forms. It begins with loyalty we show to ourselves. It means staying true to our values, principles, and convictions, even when it's tempting to compromise. When it's tempting to compromise them for a personal gain or societal acceptance. When it's tempting to compromise them for a personal gain or societal acceptance. When it's tempting to compromise them for personal gain or societal acceptance. Loyalty to oneself means being honest taking responsibility for our actions and striving to become the best version of ourselves. Moreover, in the world where loyalty is often tested, it is important to remember that loyalty is not blind obedience or lack of critical thinking. It does not mean turning a blind eye to someone's fault or blindly following without question. See, true loyalty requires discernment and understanding of what is right and just. It means holding ourselves and others accountable with still offering support and guidance. And this came about because I was watching this movie. I'm a movie guy. I go to the movies. You know, some people, if y'all too much of a saint, pray for Pastor Jamaal. All right? I go to movies, and I was watching this one movie called The Covenant. How many are you familiar with that movie, The Covenant? I just need to make sure I got some supporters here, see? Don't worry, I'm not going to judge you if you went to the movies or saw it, on demand or something like that. I'm not going to judge you. Some of the saints, they just read their Bible, and they still haven't changed. But that's a different story. We're not going to judge y'all either. See, I want to talk about this movie because this movie is a great expression of what God would want for us as human beings. It was an amazing movie. I think it's up there as one of my most favorite movies of all time, especially when it comes to a military movie. And it's a military movie about a guy who was running in Afghanistan, and they were trying to look for Taliban and get rid of ordinances and different bombs and stuff like that. And they hired an interpreter, and the interpreter came along with them. And they were at one place where stuff got went crazy. And this interpreter, can I tell the movie? You're gonna judge me? It's okay? All right, cause I want you to inbox me. Don't inbox me about Pastor Jamaal while you ruin the movie for me. I almost played the whole movie just to let you know for service, but I didn't want to get fired. But your man and the interpreter ended up so it was a team of about 8 of them. The whole team got wiped out except for the guy in charge and interpreter. So the interpreter, remember, he was just hired just to interpret, to do nothing else. But because of his hatred towards the Taliban, it ended up creating a bond between him and the general. I think he was a general, sergeant. Forgive me if I don't have the terms correct. I never went into the military. All right, so for all of the military personnel, once again, thank you for your services, but I apologize. Trying to be politically correct is exhausting. Like, when did we get so sensitive? All right, let me behave because I'm getting the looks over here, from my accountability individuals. All right, so I'm gonna go over here. So they end up getting killed, and the interpreter and him, they go on this trek, and he said, we got 120 clicks. I looked it up, it's about 70 miles to get back to base. And he said they're going to double time, they're going to hoof it and double time. That means they're going to run, like Forrest Gump. All right? Did y'all see that? Okay, good. So you know reference. I got to make sure you understand my references. So they were like, run, Forrest, run. So they started running. John Kinley gets shot on the way to it. So he gets shot in the leg, gets shot in the arm, so he's out of commission, right? The interpreter could have said, oh man, my job's over, and go home. But he stayed. He ended up shooting the guys that tried to capture him, bandaging him up, and he took this trek, carrying this man's body through combatant territory, almost 70 miles. And I told my friends and my kids, I said, if y'all not rolling with me like that, y'all are shifting from friends to acquaintances quickly. Because here it is, this man, and what I learned is that the length of time knowing the person doesn't necessarily land you at a deeper place of loyalty. So the length of time does not equate to the depth of loyalty. And he ended up getting this guy to a place where he gets saved. But he felt so convicted at what the man had to go through, even to the point where Ahmed, that was his name, right? Ahmed, if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. He sits down in the middle of the journey and starts crying, frustrated, weary. He looks at, and I'm trying to, I'm putting myself in a situation. And he looks at the guy, and he's laying upside down, and he's on this car, this two-wheel car that he's climbing up a mountain to push. He's pushing this car over rocks, and he's getting stuck, and he has to, back up and then push more. And I know his hands are tired. And he's looking at this guy, and he's crying, and I think about how many times we get to a place in certain relationships, even with God, where we're looking and we're crying, and we turn and we say, no, I'm not going to quit. And he pushed through, and he got through, and then John Kenny gets home, and he finds out that the Ahmed is hiding because his life is being threatened because he carried this military man past their strongholds and stuff like that, and they want to kill him. So John Kenny said, no, we got to get him out of there. We promised him visas. So they end up getting visas, and he went back after him by himself. That's loyalty. That's what I'm talking about. See, what happens is often we find ourselves as Christians where we feel we got to stand with somebody else to make a stand and talk about what the Bible is saying. No, I can stand by myself. I'll go to battle by myself because I know that the Bible is the unadulterated truth, the Word of God. That's why I dislike when people try to say that the God of the Bible is the same God of the Quran. I said, no. I said, when you look at the idea of God, the highest conceivable being, then I can see why you can make that mistake. But I said, when you look at the concept of God, and you start understanding the God of the Bible compared to the God of Quran, the God of the Bible who thought that we were worth it to come down and be with us personally. The God of the Bible that says, no, not only do I want to be with you personally, I will die for you. The God of the Bible who says, no, not only will I die for you, but I'm going to rise again so that I can make sure that your future is assured. Because if I leave it on you, there's no insurance. But if I leave it on me, that's why I love the conversation that God had with Abraham. He said, look, I'll walk through. And on my name. See, there's something about this thing called loyalty. So I was watching it, and I started thinking, I said, man, I was a stubborn kid. As I matured, I got better. I get to picture my wife watching this and say, mm-hmm. My mother really, because she knew me for way longer, she's like, mm-hmm. So my dad and I used to get into disagreements, and we used to butt heads, and the reality is that I'm a strong-willed individual. He's a strong-willed individual. We're two strong-willed individuals, and we don't fully always agree, even to this day. And the bigger part was my unforgiveness. I didn't want to forgive because I wanted justice. My rule is, whatever pain I felt, you need to feel it so you can understand what I went through. Anybody in the balcony, can you feel my pain? Right? And it's not about, in my mindset, it was not about getting back. It's just so you can sympathize better when you apologize. Right? So, man, I really know what you went through. Yeah, you know what I went through, because look at you. You got a busted lip, I got a busted lip. We two busted lips. It's like that video of that little kid, little Johnny. Yeah. You saw the little Johnny video. Thank you. Somebody saw the little Johnny video. But the thing about it is my dad knew that one thing I was loyal to was the truth, the Bible. So he knew in order for me to change my attitude, he can always go to the Bible to show me it in the Bible, and it created a gateway for us to have the conversation, for me to become more mature and not be so ignorant and stubborn. See, because loyalty extends to our relationships with others. It means standing by our loved ones through thick and thin, supporting them in their endeavors, and being a source of strength when they need it most. Loyalty in friendship fosters trust, deepens connections, and creates a safe space where individuals can rely on one another unconditionally.
Thank you for listening to Senior Pastor Jamaal Bernard of Christian Culture Center. Download the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and visit cccinfo.church for more. We'd love to see you in person. Join us Sundays at 10 a.m. at our Brooklyn or Long Island campuses.